If you have not started setting your 2025 goals, if you do not have a plan for how you're going to glow up this year, if you haven't done your vision board yet, you are not alone. Welcome to Hot Mess Habits, the corner of the internet where we talk about realistic productivity. Today, I want to chat about how we are going to glow up, but I just wanted to start with that little reminder because I think that this time of year, it can be very overwhelming, just like the sheer amount of content that is available on the internet for just chatting about goals and resetting and all the stuff. And I think that what we can kind of end up doing is getting overwhelmed and feeling like, oh my goodness, all these other people have their life together. They already have their goals planned out. They already have everything like so neatly organized. And I do not. So I just want to remind you that it's okay if you haven't started, whether you're watching this and it's the first week of January, which is when I'm filming this, or it is February or March and you're trying to just look for some inspiration and resources on goal setting. Welcome here. There's a lot of productivity advice on the internet, and what I want to offer you today is my realistic take on it. And so this is coming from someone who has been naturally unorganized, so naturally disorganized my whole life. It's never come easy to me to be an organized person. I would consider myself a type B person, and I still think that there is space for us to set goals and dream and to thrive, and that there are ways in which we can be organized and show up for our life. They just look a little bit different. And so for me, I found that traditional productivity advice just did not work for me. So this is what I'm here to offer you today, is just a little bit of a different take on traditional productivity advice. And we're going to chat through how you can actually glow up in 2025. For me, 2020, like 2 and 3 were my really glow up years where I really found things that worked for me. And they were very different than what I was expecting. And so I've been in the trenches, I've come out to the other side, and we're going to chat through all of it today. Welcome back to Hot Mess Habits. My name is Victoria Harder. I'm your host. I am a content creator, podcaster, mom, wife. I live in British Columbia with my husband and son, and I make content for the everyday type B girly. We have a lot to catch up on today. I've taken 2 weeks off for Christmas, and we are finally back. I really hope my goal for 2025 for the podcast is to not miss a single week. And so I upload right now every day or every week on Tuesdays. So subscribe, stay tuned. I have lots of good, fun things planned for this year. A couple little updates for the podcast. First of all, I finally hit 1,000 subscribers right before Christmas, and I just am so grateful. I was really not sure when I was starting like the YouTube channel and the podcast what growth was going to look like. I didn't have super high expectations. I really wanted to hit 1,000 subscribers and be able to monetize on YouTube, but that wasn't really something, like, I didn't really know what it was going to be like. So I'm just very thankful for the response and how much you guys have just supported me already. I feel like we've only been podcasting here for 3 months and there's just still so much ahead. So very excited. I got 2 very exciting pieces of technology over Christmas. I got the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, which I cannot wait to show you guys from like a content creation perspective what those look like. And then also I got the Ultra Human ring. I forget, the Ring Air. And I'm very excited to try it out. I've been wanting to swap my Apple Watch for a ring for a while, and I ended up going with the Ultra Human ring versus the Aura ring because the Ultra Human ring does not have any subscription. So very excited to try it out. They did send it to me. I reached out to them and they offered to send it to me. So this is like my first kind of collaboration as well. So I'm excited about that. This video is not sponsored by them, but I will be doing more of like a rundown on that ring and using it for like habit tracking and things like that. I feel like it was very aligned with the podcast and what we talk about on here. So you will be seeing that from me. I'll do a full more review, but I'm just so excited about it. Moving on to what we're going to chat about today. Today, we're going to talk about how to actually glow up this year. And this is going to be your little guide. It's going to be realistic. It's going to be approachable. You're going to be able to tailor this towards your specific life. One thing we always want to chat about here is just like, okay, everyone has different responsibilities where they're at in life. And so I want the advice that I'm giving to you to be something that you can apply, whether you are super busy, working a full-time job, you're in school, you have kids. I want you to be able to take this advice and tailor it to your life. So that's my goal with all of this. So we're just going to start through. We're going to chat through the list. And I hope that you leave this episode just feeling inspired, feeling not overwhelmed by the new year, but excited about what's to come. Starting off strong is not listening to advice from people that you do not trust or you wouldn't want to be in their shoes. So I think that this is something we really can fall prey to on the internet because there's so much advice being offered, and it can be very easy to just, when you see someone who is making claims or saying things like, oh, this is how you do this is like, how you can make $100,000 this year, like all these different things. I think that it can be easy to just like take people's advice blindly. And so I just want to encourage you to just have that little bit of a reality check of like, okay, who am I taking advice from? Who am I looking to inspiration from? And do I actually want to be like that person or not? Even in your real life, I feel like sometimes the people whose voices are the loudest or who are offering their opinion the most aren't necessarily people that we want to be like or take opinion from. So that's just my little reminder, is like, just as you're consuming content, as you're looking for inspiration, let's take advice and look to inspiration from people that we trust, that we actually want to be like, that have similar values to us. I think that also, like, in our day and age, people can sometimes be a little bit more reserved, especially people kind of our own age, about offering advice. We don't want to like offer unsolicited advice or be too like forward with people. And so my encouragement to you is also to just like to reach out to someone that you do admire, that you do respect, and maybe like ask them some questions, ask them for some advice. I think that's something that's kind of been lost in our generation, is like advice sharing in a very like relational and personal way. I feel like we more so just look to like TikTok for information. Even within like me being a mom, I feel like I can sometimes just look to Instagram or TikTok to tell me, even if I'm not actively searching for that content. I feel like, I see parenting stuff, I see all this stuff. And really one challenge that I want for myself this year is to just go to people that I already know and that I trust, and I know what their life is like, I know what their values are like, and ask them for their opinion, ask them for their advice. When it comes to glowing up, I feel like knowledge and wisdom and like other people's experiences are very valuable. And so being able to use and tap into that resource, especially if you have those people in your life, it's the best. The second one is one that you may roll your eyes at and you may feel a little bit like duh by, or like want to skip through. But honestly, truly, spending less time on your phone is going to be the number one way that you can glow up. And I'm talking to myself here. I know that my phone is something that really prohibits me from being like the best version of myself, from being able to fully tap into my goals. And you can think of so many excuses as to why like you need your phone or why you just like can't give it up. But the more that we can step away from it and like touch grass in a way, do things like tactical with our hands, step away from just needing to be connected all the time, the more we're actually going to be able to do the things that we want to do. And so this is going to look different for every person. I'm not going to like sit here and be like, okay, these are the exact things you need to do. Like you should only spend 2 hours on your phone or you should do this. But just think about what are some ways in the next year that you can spend less time on your phone, whether that is like using the screen time feature and like locking certain apps, whether that is not having your phone in the room with you when you go to bed, or starting to try to read and swapping out scrolling for reading, like whatever that looks like, being able to be more present with our real life and less time on TikTok and Instagram is definitely going to be a win. I am coming off fresh of, I've been off, I think, Instagram and TikTok for like a week and a half now, and I feel so amazing. And I just need to remind myself of this feeling and how great it is, and that I don't need to be connected all the time. It's okay if I'm not caught up on the latest TikTok trends, and that I can still do my job. I can do my content creation and everything with my computer. I don't need to be constantly online. The third thing is tracking your time. This kind of goes along with your phone thing. I feel like what we can often say is, okay, I don't have enough time to do that. I don't have enough time to read. I don't have enough time to do my goals. I don't have enough time to exercise. Like we can always use the excuse of being too busy or not having enough time. So I think that I want to encourage you to do for like 3 days or 1 week, 3 days minimum, a week would be ideal, is just keeping track of your time. You can get an app on your phone, or you can like physically write things down, but probably the phone is the easiest in this situation. But just like keeping track and being more aware of where your time is going. I think that so often we can say like, oh yeah, I don't have enough time. But then when it really comes down to it, it's like, okay, but I am on my phone in the evenings from like 8 until 10. And so it's like, okay, could I be using that time for something else? Maybe for you, it's not even being on your phone. It's just like maybe transition times take a long time. Like when you first get out of bed, it takes you a really long time to get like from bed to get ready for the day. So maybe it's like, okay, I just need to like lay my clothes out. I need to prep better for the mornings, and then I can use that time better. So just keeping track of your time, being aware of where it's going. I think that it can be very telling when we're just kind of going through life, going through the motions, and don't really know where all that time is going. My next challenge to you is to stop listening to copious amounts of self-help content. In 2019, I found myself in a place where the only thing that I was consuming was self-help content. So this was like productivity advice, financial advice, how to start a business. Like every single thing that I was consuming was to do with like self-help, self-improvement. And again, here I am. I have a like self-improvement wellness podcast, and I'm telling you, like, get off and stop listening to it. But I'm just encouraging you that if that's the only thing you're surrounding yourself with, you will always feel like you're behind. You will always feel like you're not doing enough. So I just encourage you to just take a little, like, be aware of what you're consuming. If the only thing you're consuming is that type of content, I would really encourage you to add something in, take away some of that stuff, because I think that when the only thing we're doing is consuming, it can just make us feel like we haven't accomplished enough. And that's where I was only consuming that type of content. And so then when it came down to it, I just always felt like I wasn't doing enough. And I felt like if I was listening to like something that was more fun or just like laid back, that I was not being productive. And that is the farthest thing from the truth. Sometimes the most productive thing that we could do is rest and recoup and not focus on like doing our goals and doing all the things. One way I have done this is I just have switched a lot of my reading to be fiction. I used to read a lot of nonfiction books, and this past year I was looking through my like Goodreads year in review, and I noticed, I'm like, oh my goodness, almost all the books are fiction. And that was a win for me, because I used to think that, because I definitely went through a phase where I no longer like appreciated fiction and was just like, oh, I'm over it. Like I need to read something that's going to like make me better, make me more productive, make me a better business owner, and all those things. And what I've realized is just like, okay, no, you can read and it can just be a passion. And it can be just for fun and just to bring joy to your life and story to your life. Same thing with what you're listening to. You don't always have to listen to a podcast. You can listen to music, or you can listen to a podcast that's more just like casual fun, that makes you laugh, or you can, the people you're following on Instagram, not having to always follow like very like people that are going to make you feel guilty or like you're not doing enough. The next thing is looking for ways where we are falling short. And I'm not saying this in a way of like, okay, I want you to look and like feel bad about like the things you haven't done. I'm looking for this in a way of like, okay, often what can happen is we fall into patterns and we're unable to get out of them. So we need to be able to recognize like what is the thing that is causing us to stumble. I'll give you a personal example. For me, I'm someone who I'm not the best at keeping track of time. And so what would happen is I would leave the house and it would be like, I don't know, it'd be the morning and I'd go to run errands. I would go run my errands. I would have multiple stops. It would take longer than I expected. And then suddenly I would be like doing one of my stops and driving around. I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so starving, so hungry, I'm so thirsty. I would go through a drive-through because it's like, oh, it's like way past lunch. I need to eat something. I need to drink something. Like I feel so stressed. I feel this like kind of ball of anxiety. And then that made me anxious because I was like, okay, I shouldn't be spending money. I shouldn't be eating out. And I also feel stressed because I'm way later than I was expected. And so what I was able to identify when I was like looking at like this kind of cycle was, oh, okay, every single time I leave the house, I end up going through a drive-through, which I don't like doing because it doesn't feel good. I don't really want to eat out. I don't want to spend the money. And so I was like, okay, how can I solve this issue? Like, what can I do to help myself in this situation? And I knew that the answer was probably not like, oh, I need to keep track of my time better, because I know that that's hard for me. And so my answer was like, oh, I just need to make sure that I bring some snacks and some water with me when I leave the house. And so now every time I leave the house, I try to bring something with me, or I always try to have like a granola bar, like something in my bag, so that like, if it comes down to it, I can have something hold me over till I get home. And so just look for, like, if there's anything in your life, like looking for things that are like causing you anxiety, or areas where you feel like you're constantly like trying but it's not working, just being able to look at those from an outside perspective and be like, okay, what can I do to try to make this work? And obviously, again, this is not, I don't know what your situation is. I don't know what these things are for you, but I just encourage you to like take some time where you are in a like reflective state. Maybe you're going to write this down and just be like, okay, what are the areas that I'm falling short? And is there any solution that will help me try to combat this from a different way? Okay, lastly, I just wanted to touch on gratitude, being grateful for our life, and for using our real life as inspiration. With the rise of Pinterest and vision boards and, you know, glowing up, becoming that girl, what I think we can lose sight of is our current real life, and forgetting to be grateful for the life that we're already living. This is something I'm very passionate about. I feel like I have been in many, many seasons over the last 10 years. Like my whole 20s has just been, okay, I'm not exactly where I want to be yet. I have a lot of goals and dreams and things that I really, really want. But I also want to be grateful for the life that I'm living right now. And so my encouragement to you is just making sure that in the midst of when you are looking ahead, trying to chase goals, trying to be a different person, like trying to be like that girl, trying to be organized, trying to be all these types of things, that we really take the time to be grateful for the things that we have right now, grateful for the season that we're in, even if it feels hard, even if it feels like, you know, we're not where we want to be. We're not as organized as we want to be. We keep failing at our goals. I still want you to try to look at your life and look for the things that you can be grateful for. Something that helped me with this, which is just annoying to hear, is just doing it over and over and over again. The practice of it is what helps you be able to do it more naturally. And I know that's annoying to hear because we want the overnight change, and we want things to just happen. We want to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to be a grateful person, and then you just like are one. But that's unfortunately not how it works. And there's a refining process. There's just, things take time. And so whether you are just starting, like maybe for you, this just looks like writing down one thing a day that you're grateful for. Maybe this looks like having a friend and texting a friend and being like, hey, I really want to work on being more grateful. Can we just like once a week check in with some things we're grateful for? Maybe that's what it looks like. Maybe that's what it means to you. My husband and I meet weekly with a group of people through our church, and one of the things that we often do is doing like a highs and lows for the week. So we talk about like, you know, some things that were great and then some things that weren't. And one of the things that has helped me be able to do throughout the week is think about, okay, as the week's going on, I'm like, oh wait, this is actually like a really cool moment. Like this is something that I would share as one of my highs. So maybe doing something like that, like with someone else, can be helpful because then it's outside of yourself. I think the gratitude thing has been one of the biggest things on my journey that I've had to grow to appreciate, because I really, and this is what I hope for you as well, that as we are going through the journey of working on ourselves and our goals and becoming that girl and glowing up and all of the things, I just want you to be able to actually enjoy the life that you're living right now, and to not just focus on the end result, on who we're going to be in like 5 years, who we're going to be in 10 years, but to be able to actually enjoy right here and now, to be thankful for each day that we're given, and to be thankful for those that are around us, all the things that we have in our life, and that just leaning into the duality that like both things can exist at the same time. We can be really excited to pursue goals. We can be very future focused. We can look towards those things and maybe not be like the most happy with where we're at, but also acknowledge that like life is still beautiful. There are still many beautiful blessings and things along the way that make our day-to-day worth living. And so I just hope that, and that's where I kind of want to leave this podcast today, is just like, as we are working towards being that girl, as we are doing all of the things, I just hope that you're able to enjoy the process. For me, being able to have like habits and routines that I love has just made this whole experience so great, has just made this whole process so worth it. And when I look at, when I look at last year's goals compared to this year's goals, there's so many things that overlap. And that makes me happy because that means that like I really have actually enjoyed like being able to have a morning routine, being able to work on goals that maybe don't have a specific end date, but that are going to be things that I want to carry throughout my life. That was your little pep talk for the beginning of 2025. I thought you're having a wonderful start to the year. As of this week, we're going to be moving forward with having weekly episodes again. So make sure that you're subscribed and let me know if there's anything specific that you want to talk about. I'm right now in the process of planning out the year. I only have a couple episodes planned out so far for topics. So please let me know what you would like to hear about. If there's anything that I've talked about on previous episodes that you want me to break down more, or if you have any ideas for, just things that you'd like to hear more in depth about. Thank you all so much for being here, for being just part of this community. I really, really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week.